Talk Shoes. Recorded live.
First of all, the NRA should just change their name to the Assassin's Lobby, because that's what they are. Yeah, you can applaud that. Somebody should applaud that.
And I'm here to tell you, 1776 will commence again if you try to take our firearms. Doesn't matter how many lemmings you get out there on the street.
But you have to have people in leadership to espouse something worth believing in. So I've challenged the status quo.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice. And let me remind you also that moderation in the pursuit of justice is no virtue.
This is how liberty dies. It's under applause.
Welcome to Liberty Cap Talk Live. This is your host, Todd Andrew Barnett, and his co-host, James Landrop Jr.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Liberty Cap Talk Live. We are now back on the air. We are finally doing it, folks. This is the official relaunch of the show. Tonight's show is back, and hey, you know, we're all doing so great. I'm so happy, so stoked. I'm so passionate. I'm full of fire. No, that's the Ebola virus talking. No, I'm just kidding. This is exciting because I just can't believe how exciting it is to be back with everybody. I know everybody missed me, you know, even when I was having my health issues and all. I'm so glad that everybody's back with me, and you know, it's exciting, you know, it's full of excitement. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. But in any case, thank you for coming back on the air with us, tuning in. We'll be back every Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You got it. All right, then. My partner in crime is on the air with us, and he's back. Hey, Jim Landreth, you with me, buddy?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I certainly can hear you.
I'm trying a new set of headphones with microphones, so I want to make sure it's actually working pretty well. Okay, good.
Okay, you are definitely doing pretty well. So I don't know. It's exciting. It's interesting. You know, so it's fantastic all the way around. I'm glad we're back on the air, buddy. I'm very much happy that we're back on the air. So now let's see here. Our first panelist here is none other than Norm Singleton. He is a very good friend who is a blogger at BlueRockwell.com, and he has some amazing insights in the liberty movement as well as outside the movement, and he sees with his eyes open. Here is Norm Singleton. Norm, you with us?
Yes, I am.
Oh, great. Okay, so I'm just so elated to have you guys back on. It's great to be back on the air with full of fire and passion, talking about what's going on in the world today, and we're all ready. So there you have it. Okay, so I have no idea where Dave is at yet. Let me check here, and hopefully he's on the call. No, he's not yet. So anyway, everybody has been invited, whether they show up or not. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Okay, so I guess the whole thing right now we're discussing tonight is the voter ID laws that were struck down by the Supreme Court in Wisconsin and Texas. I think that was the big thing that came out in the news this week. It was something that I think is a very good thing that's happened so far. And, the fact of the matter is, who's going to want to vote in an election, particularly when the government can't even get its own voting done right? I mean, a hanging Chad. Has anybody forgotten what happened in 2000 when we were trying to elect George W. Bush to the presidency? I mean, we had to have the Supreme Court handling that entire mess. So, what say you, Norm?
Well, I do. I think that the voter ID laws are very troublesome for a number of reasons. One is Senator Paul has pointed out there is a it confirms the image that a lot of people have about certain aspects of the Republican Party and conservatives, and unfortunately that spills over to libertarians, that we're somehow against lower income people because they tend to have trouble, are more likely to not have an ID. And also I know that there's a back and forth on this, but I haven't seen any definitive proof that voter fraud is a major problem in any major elections. In fact, I think it's been almost 20 years since the last time that there was serious allegations of voter fraud determining an election. Although I guess it's possible in Minnesota in 2008 that there was some voter fraud there. So this could just be all much ado about nothing. And as you said, the government has a history of screwing up administering elections. The final point that I would make is that from a constitutional standpoint, and I'm a fan of the 10th Amendment of federalism, of not having federal judges run the government or run state governments from the bench. But there is a federal role if you're talking about federal elections in this. So I think that this isn't like some controversies we see where you can make a principled argument that, well, the federal government just needs to be out of it. I think in this case there is a federal role constitutionally, because the federal government has a legitimate, I don't want to say legitimate, but it has a constitutional interest in protecting federal elections.
Right, and I think that's the big question, isn't it? Whether or not the federal government is truly going to get involved in these states' voter ID laws. And I just don't see the points of what these laws are trying to do. Are they trying to prevent voter fraud? Not necessarily. The state can actually, and I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist here, but the state can actually fuck up your photo and make you look terrible, not exactly the person you say you are. I mean, the state can do a lot of things to invalidate your legitimacy at the voting polls. So, it really says a lot about the whole spiel about voter ID laws, right?
Yeah, I think it does. Do we trust the government to administer these laws? And what could happen is if there are cases of people being turned away from the polls who it later was found out were legitimate and there was a problem with their ID, that could strengthen the argument for real ID and national ID cards and E-Verify databases,
right,
where you'll have to prove that you're in the federal government database to vote. Now, when you think about it, that could I could see the argument being made. Well, if you have to be federally approved to work, which is what the E-Verify system is all about, why shouldn't you be federally approved to vote?
Right.
And that's.
Hold that thought right there. We have somebody from South Texas. Who is this?
This is David Nalle.
Hey, Dave, welcome on the show. He's our second panelist. He was the past chair of the Republican Liberty Caucus. He's a Libertarian Republican, and not to mention, he is the South Central Regional Director of the RLC. Dave Nalle, welcome to the show as a panelist, my friend.
And I'm from Texas.
And you're from Texas.
Which is a matter of contention at this time.
Yeah, and also home of Texas toast. Yeah. But I'm just kind of curious here, Dave. We just started talking about the voter ID laws. What's your take on this whole thing?
Well, I think there's a much ado about nothing on this. Voter ID laws here in Texas, it's been temporarily struck down by the local court, local federal court. But there really isn't. I'm a election judge, and there really isn't any problem with voter ID. Most people in Texas have IDs. If they don't have an ID, you can go down and get one the same day for free from your local voting office. All you have to do is provide certain documentation, and you can have an ID for free. So I don't see it being like a poll tax or anything that's really going to keep voters from voting. We had election already. We've had one election which had the rule in place, and no one was complaining. There weren't any problems. Even the Democrat judges were saying it was remarkably easy to use, and they didn't see anybody being turned away from the polls. I think it's a big political issue, but I don't think it's an issue for real people.
Yeah. But that's the thing, though, because I think voter ID laws, I mean, this is just me coming from my ideological libertarian standpoint here, but these laws, do they really stop voter fraud? I mean,
no,
especially...
They don't. Almost all the voter fraud in Texas that actually takes place through the process of the absentee ballots. And the Voter ID Act doesn't actually affect the absentee ballots, so all that fraud is basically unaffected by it.
So the voter fraud, you're saying, is a separate issue from the voter ID itself.
Yeah, there's very little fraud. I mean, there's some cases in Texas where people have been caught committing real voter fraud, but it's not really a systemic problem. And except in a few places where they have very lax control over the voting process, it doesn't really make any difference if you have voter ID or not when you get right down to it. What they need to do is get more of a control on absentee ballots, which they really don't keep track of very effectively.
Right.
And that 1 or 2% of the vote can make all the difference.
Right. How about you? Okay, Jim. Your thoughts and your take on this.
Well, as long as, one, the ID is free and it's not some way for the state to actually do anything else with the information they get from the ID, it's not being fed into some other database, it's not being used in some way to track people. If it's specifically for the purpose of allowing for ID to vote, that's one thing. I'm still not crazy about it. Quite another, though, if it is being used as a means of generating revenue for the state. Or if it's being used as a means of collecting data on citizens, which in some states that might be the issue. I keep hearing about how there's this mass amount of voter fraud all over the place, but I never see any actual convictions. I never see any really big stories confirming it. You see it all over Facebook on Republican pages about how Democrats are just winning elections because of dead people voting. And how, whole states are taken that way, and yet I don't see the evidence to back it up.
Well, I think just to come real quick, Norm, something I said before Dave joined us about the fact that there's, to my knowledge, at the federal level, 3 cases where voter fraud was seriously alleged since 1996 to have possibly impacted the results of the election, and that was the Bob Dorn and Loretta Sanchez race in '96, the Mary Landrieu, I forget who she ran against in '96, her first Senate race, and then in '08, I guess, the Al Franken, I think it was Norm Coleman race in Minnesota, and what makes those races significant is that they're close. Normally, before you even get one of the losing candidate to make an accusation of voting fraud that even requires an investigation, there's usually it's usually an incredibly close race, and right. We just normally you don't. It's very odd to have a race where there's like less than 100 votes between the 2 candidates and there's multiple recounts. Right. And if there was all this voter fraud going on, I think we might have more evidence. And a political consultant, acquaintance of mine, one of the things that one of the first things he tells people when he's training them is, if you lose an election, it's probably because you either had a bad candidate or you ran a bad campaign. Don't cry about how Diebold stole it from you. Figure out how you can do better next time.
Right. But here's the thing that really gets me. I don't think voter fraud, and I agree with all of you guys on this, voter fraud isn't a problem. However, election fraud is a problem. And that's what we have going on every 2 and 4 fucking years. We have this going on every single election season there is. And that's the thing, because if it were all about voter fraud, then they would take into account, people who are already dead laying in the ground, and they would have said, oh, well, these people voted at the voting booths at 4 o'clock p.m. And lo and behold, these people would have voted according to the list. But that's not really the problem here. The problem here is the fact that the elections can be rigged. The problem here is that the hanging Chad system has become a joke in itself. Remember election 2000, folks? I mean, the hanging Chad controversy that was weighing heavily nationwide, but mainly in Florida. Actually, it was more in Florida. I mean, it really shows the ludicrous nature of how this system is set up from the get-go. and it needs to be either junked or reformed, one way or the other.
Well, if I can break in, what you're talking about is fraud that takes place at a level other than the average single voter, and that is, I think, a potential vulnerability in the system. What we have happening here in Texas and what we've seen elsewhere, and this is why there's such a concern over Acorn, is voters being registered who either don't exist, don't live in their location anymore, or have disappeared. And they're not being registered so they can vote. That's not the purpose of registering all these bogus voters. For example, I recently saw a case where here in Austin, there were several hundred voters registered at locations where they were not resident at closed apartment complexes. The point of that is not to get people to vote for dead people or for missing people or for other people. The point of that is to create a amount of essentially a loose amount of votes that aren't going to be counted, so that at the top where the votes actually are counted, there's a little bit of extra room so they can add some votes in where they need to. And that's the real vulnerability.
Right. We're going to bring in another person here. He's an old friend. We've managed to talk again. And he's, if it's okay with you, Jim, I'm bringing back Mark Daniels. He and I started talking again. And he's, going to be I guess we can make him an honorary panelist tonight. That is, if he's interested in staying for the duration of the show. Let's welcome Mark Daniels of GlobalPoliticalAwakening.com. Mark Daniels.
Well, hello there, Todd, Andrew Barnett, and hi to you, Jim. I just got to tune in. I just had a lovely dinner with a friend, an old friend, and we had a wonderful time. And so I'm just now sitting down at home and relaxing and tuned in. And I don't know where you've been so far. I guess you've been going for about 20 minutes. But I'm glad to be here. I'm going to listen for a while, and I'll be glad to provide any insights that may come my way.
Okay, we're talking about the voter, the alleged voter fraud thing that that's been going on, according to the GOP and the establishment GOP, that is.
Well, in my opinion, that's an easy one. I don't think you have to go much further. Don't vote unless you're going to vote for a constable in your local township, because it's all fraud. The entire system's fraud. It's fraud from the beginning. This is a corrupt system that's about to destroy itself. So don't bother voting. They're all a bunch of liars and cheats. Is that simple enough?
That is very simple enough on that point, Jim. Mark. I will say you're absolutely very observant during these trying times, and very astute, as I might say so myself. But here's the real problem here is election fraud, which is what I was getting into a moment ago. Election fraud has been on the rise for quite a few years now. And that's really what the problem is. The Democrats have it completely wrong. It's election fraud. That's how, remember, I just pointed out a minute ago, remember the hanging Chad controversy that was dominating election 2000 in Florida? Remember that disaster that resulted in Bush becoming elected to the presidency, even though he had already won the election, and the votes would show that. But the reality is, the Democrats were trying to hold it against him and the entire GOP by saying, well, Bush stole the election. Remember that meme, folks? Bush stole the election. And supposedly that is the most ridiculous claim there is. So, Jim, you have any thoughts you want to, additional thoughts you want to throw in on this one, or?
Well, I just I'm just interested in seeing what the end goal is with some of these voter ID things going about, and if once they're successful in some states, what's the next thing? Because they're not going to stop there. Whenever you force a new piece of ID or a new place that you have to show it, there's always something else.
Right.
The real goal behind it.
Right.
Well, may I just interject here for just a moment? Thank you, Jim, for that. All we need to do is look at, Ron Paul's presidency, and that tells us everything we need to know. There is no third party coming to the rescue. There is no independents going to rise and take over the government, not at this stage of the game, not through the political process that we currently have. And so what I see happening is the system in which we have created is actually going to implode upon itself. And as far as like the cheating going on, what this is it's all for show. So what you have is, these hanging chads. Why do you think the media pumped that up? It was in everybody's consciousness. And the reason why they did that is because they wanted to make it look, they wanted to try to make the false left-right paradigm look legitimate, like there was actually some competition going on. Fuck that shit. These motherfuckers don't give a shit about nobody, and they're going to continue to divide and conquer and try to convince people about these fucking left-right. If you're still stuck in that left-right paradigm, if you even have Republican associated with your name, you're an idiot.
Any comments from the peanut gallery before we
Sure.
continue?
I'd love to comment on that.
Go ahead.
Well, the left-right paradigm is an unfortunate choice of words. It's not really a left-right paradigm. It's really it's not a false left-right paradigm because it's not false. There really is a division between the left and the right in this country.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's an illusion.
It's not an illusion. It's real. And there are real divisions within those things, too. Within the Republican Party, there are multiple divisions within the party. And if you're stuck with a two-party system, you got to learn how to overcome it, and you got to win in the two-party system. You can't just run away and say, "Oh, it's a false left-right paradigm. I'm being cheated out of my vote," because that doesn't get you anything.
Well, I appreciate your input. I really do, and I think that it demonstrates clearly with the problem that we're facing, and that is that you say there's no false left-right paradigm, that there are divisions within and all that. So certainly, there's divisions within, but ultimately, this entire system that we've created is designed to keep certain entities in power, rulers of the world, if you will. And so, these people have developed a system that works for them, and it is never going to work for us. But here's the good news. The good news is we're about to move beyond that. We're about to actually experience what is called freedom, true freedom, where people recognize who they truly are, that they are spirit, that they're not this body and this legal entity that's been created, that's all a fiction. See, and so people are bought into this illusion, and they keep debating issues that really have no relevance any longer, because we're moving beyond this. The consciousness has risen. And so that's the hope that I want to offer people tonight.
Right.
Can I just jump in for 1 second?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think I kind of agree with both Dave and I'm sorry, I forgot the other gentleman's name.
My name's Mark. Thank you for asking.
Hi, Mark. I'm Norm. Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi, Norm. And I don't mean to offend anyone. Yeah.
But no, I don't take offense. I just give it. But I think that
that's a good one. I like that.
Sometimes I think that in among libertarians and liberty people, talking about a false left-right paradigm has almost become a meaningless cliche. But I think from our perspective, it is in that liberty is, in the traditional debate, divided into various parts. If you're a liberal, you support liberty for gay marriage, and you're not crazy about the Patriot Act and the NSA and foreign wars, at least when it's being done by a president named Bush and not a president named Obama.
But you also oppose the free market while you're at it.
Right. Whereas if you're a conservative, you want the liberty to have your guns. You want the liberty to act in a some sort of free market. And then if you're but you don't want gays to be married. You don't want
You don't want to buy. You don't want to buy your crack. You don't want to buy your crack.
Personal liberty. Yeah. You want a drug. You want a big drug war, and you want the government to. You probably want the government to kill a lot of foreigners. Whereas liberty, of course, consistently should be. Yeah. And of course, if you're a centrist by the terms of DC. That means that you're because that means that you want both domestic socialism and foreign wars, and no civil liberties. And if you're an extremist like we all are, you want to. The moderates among us want to cut the government down to constitutional size. The centrists want to roll back to the Articles of Confederation, and the extremists want anarchy.
Right.
That was a joke, by the way, for in case just so nobody gets offended.
And conservatives don't want you to mainline crack and be a swinger while you're at it and watch porn.
Well, perfect. It's really quite perfect.
Either. I just don't want them put in a cage. If they do, and I don't want a militarized police force to blow up my house with a tank because they got a wrong tip that I'm running a crack den.
Right. All right. We're going to we got a caller on the line here. He's somebody from North Nevada. Who is this? Hello. Somebody from North.
This is Neil Schulman.
Oh, Neil Schulman.
Hey, Neil. Hey, Neil.
How's it going, Neil?
Good. I have to tell you, the reason I called in is because I got invited to listen to this show, and spending 10 minutes on the web trying to figure out a way to listen to it turned out to be impossible, so I had to call in.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Welcome to the table, Neil.
Good, but I'm happy to be there with you guys.
Of course. We're so glad to hear from you.
So, Norm, good to be listening to you.
Good to hear your voice, Neil.
Yeah. I don't know if a lot of people listening know about this, but Norm has been very, very kind to the Alongside Night Project in a number of different ways. I believe that he was, I don't believe, I mean, he was the one who got Ron Paul to endorse the 30th anniversary edition and got me on his on the Ron Paul channel show to talk about the movie.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen the movie yet, I recommend checking it out. I think you will enjoy it if you're at all sympathetic to these ideas.
Right. I'm glad that you brought this up, the movie, Neil, because I would like to, bolster a lot of interest to bring your movie to Michigan, to the AMC theater here. And if I can lobby to do that, that would be fantastic. But I hear that your movie has already been released months ago. And
let me give you guys sort of an update here. I mean, the way the movie is registered with the tug.com system, which means that anybody who wants to promote it can bring it to a local theater, and if they could sell somewhere between, I don't know, the minimum is usually somewhere around 70 tickets, something like that, then the screening happens, and if you can't sell the 70 tickets, the screening doesn't happen. And we recently added a non-theatrical thing also through Tug, that if you want to bring it to a college campus or to a church or a meeting or something like that, you could do the same thing. You could show it that way. But what we're trying to do right now is we have an Indiegogo campaign to raise $100,000 to be able to put it in like 20 cities. And the libertarian movement, the movement being what it is, we've raised under $500 so far.
Oh, man.
And, here you have this, this movie, this Gosnell movie about this abortion doctor, and they managed to raise production funding on Indiegogo over $2.25 million in no time at all. And here I'm trying to raise my measly $100,000, and it's like, WTF.
Wow.
Wow.
What is the solution, do you think, Neil, at this stage?
Well, the solution is that some big organization has to get behind it and commit. I mean, what we're really talking about is the rental cost for a theater is usually for a week is somewhere around $5,000, and if you figure at $10 a ticket, that's 500 tickets. So if we could get 500 tickets sold in 20 different cities, we have our theatrical run. Now the good news is that we've made a deal for the movie to come out in 2015 on DVD, Blu-ray. But if we're hoping to get this movie into Walmart and Redbox and Costco and all those other sorts of stores, it really helps these stores to order if you can get it into theaters, on a general release first. So this is the quandary we're in. We're not. It's like we're in between right now. A few years from now, it'll be possible to make a movie and stream it on the web and make your money back that way. We're not there yet. And so we're still in that in-between period when the old Hollywood studio model only works for super mega budget movies, and independent films don't have really access anymore. And on the other hand, the new media isn't supporting us yet.
Well, I just wanted to add one more thing. My name's Mark Daniels, and I'd like to extend the same offer that Todd offered, to do anything I can here in my state of Arkansas to bring the movie here. And you mentioned a website earlier. Where is the best place for people to go where they can really get involved and help promote this movie? Okay, well,
everything starts on the official movie website, alongsidenightmovie.com. And you go to alongsidenightmovie.com, and there's two buttons. One takes you to the Indiegogo campaign, and the other one takes you to Tug, where if there isn't already a screening set up, you can host one and set it up. But I have to tell you, a lot of people have set up screenings and then set back and thought it was going to sell itself, and it doesn't work that way. I mean, you really have to do the marketing and promotion to be able to sell the 70 tickets for the screening to happen.
Wow. Thank you for divulging allowing me to ask those questions, Todd. Thank you.
I really want to say that this is a worthwhile project. I think I've been glad to play a small part in it. It's a great book. If you haven't, for those of you who haven't read it, I think the movie, you'll really enjoy it. For those of you who saw earlier this year the movie God Is Not Dead, the actor who played the atheist professor, who was Hercules in the 80s, is in it. And
I've been meaning to get a copy of that movie, by the way. So
what Norm is talking about is Kevin Sorbo.
That's his name. Thank you. I forgot his.
Yeah, and actually it was not the 80s, it was the 90s. Hercules. 90s. Hercules' Legendary Journeys was worldwide the number one TV series ahead of Baywatch. And it was, like this worldwide hit for around 7 years or something like that. Right. And then also Xena was a spin-off of that. But then, Kevin went on to do a lot of independent films, and then one of them earlier this year really hit. A movie called God's Not Dead, had a lot of backing from Christian evangelicals. God, if only the libertarian movement would support his movies the way that Christian evangelicals support their movies. But I mean, this movie made dollars. Christians streamed to it, and it earned over $60 million at the domestic box office.
I think that it's important to support, do what we all can to support these types of projects. And I don't like to tell people, like Ron Paul, I don't like to tell people what to do to promote liberty, but I believe that the late conservative Tea Party rabble-rouser, and I mean that as a compliment, Andrew Breitbart, was onto something when he said culture is upstream from politics, that the movies we watch, the TV shows we watch, the books and images that we receive from pop culture matter a lot more than just how people entertain themselves, because they do shape or can shape people's political opinion. So I think that if a movement, everybody tries to do what you can to support artists and filmmakers, and also, by the way, if a young person comes to anybody out there and says, I want to do something to advance liberty, but I don't want to go into politics or political activism, what should I do? I mean, maybe suggest to them that they follow Neil's path instead of being the umpteenth libertarian blogger out there. Because think about it. What does the movement need? How could the movement benefit from a libertarian Michael Moore or a libertarian Oliver Stone?
And I'm almost fat enough to be a libertarian Michael Moore.
No,
but seriously, I mean, you listen to you listen to Fox News, and you have a discussion on the Five in which the brightest thing that Andrea Tantaros can say about some college professor, who's coming out with leftist things that she doesn't like, is let's have a tax. Well, there goes, let's tax this professor for expressing anti-American ideas. Well, there goes the First Amendment, and when even as a joke, it's a fascist statement. You shouldn't.
Yeah.
Even as a joke, it's a fascist statement. And the point is, there's a lot of people and who are so wedded to the political process that they'll support historians and they'll support economists and they'll go to all these academic conferences. But the mistake that libertarians and conservatives have made forever is that they don't understand what Breitbart said. And that is one of the ways that the left has gotten as far as it has is because they actually support their artists. They're filmmakers, they're writers, they're musicians.
And you know what? I completely agree with you on just about everything you said, Neil. In fact, I think that what you've been doing as far as advancing liberty through filmmaking is fantastic. I mean, I remember you and I, Norm, we were having a discussion about, I think it was several years ago, if I'm not mistaken, that, look at Buffy and Angel, for crying out loud. Angel being, in many ways, the most libertarian show because of the libertarian themes in that show. And you even noted it on Lou Rockwell, on his blog.
Right. And of course, after that, the creator of those shows created Firefly, which was...
Right.
Yeah, Firefly, the most libertarian show ever made by a non-libertarian.
Right, and then of course this year we did have the anti-NSA movement reflected in Captain America, the Winter Soldier movie, where even the one of his early lines when he's shown the Shield's new drone/universal spying program. This isn't freedom, this is fear. I mean, that sounds like something from Ron Paul's debate with Mitt Romney and Newt Gingrich in 2012.
And it's paradoxical, but Hollywood has absolutely no idea putting libertarian ideas in their movies, just so long as it's not a libertarian who's putting it in there.
Right. It's mind-boggling. So how is the movie doing so far, Neil? I mean, how much money has it made so far? I mean,
right now I almost. Even though we've had over a dozen individual screenings, I mean, we're really so few people have seen it at this point. I mean, in 2013 we brought it out for a series of previews at libertarian conferences and conventions and a few science fiction conferences. And a few people saw it there. And then in 2014, starting in spring of this year, we've had we've had over a dozen individual screenings around the country. But right now, so few people have seen it. We're really still in pre-release, and that's why I'm really hoping to try to come up with some way to get it out into general theaters. The general commercial Hollywood distributors universally said no to us. The film festivals, usually controlled by the same people, said no to us, and we didn't have the money the Atlas Shrugged people had to distribute it ourselves. So really, we're in a situation right now where we'd really like to get it out into theaters in more of a way than the individual screenings, to support the release in 2015 of the DVD and Blu-ray, and hopefully it'll get on DirecTV and Comcast and and Netflix and all that sort of thing eventually. So, I mean, eventually people are going to see this thing, but if we want to get any push behind it, there needs to be, more of an enthusiastic support from the libertarian movements and from the, not to put too fine a point on it, Norm, but the Ron Paul movements, the Campaign for Liberty and Young Americans for Liberty. If we could get enthusiastic support not only from those organizations but Students for Liberty and Freedom Works and a lot of the same organizations that gave support to the Atlas Shrugged movie,
right,
and also to Dinesh D'Souza's movies, we'd have a chance of doing that. But right now that support has not materialized.
Well, let's get down to brass tacks, if I may, for just a moment, because first of all, I want to tell you, Neil, that you're a lot better looking than Michael Moore. Okay. Now, and then secondly, I wanted to say that I know I've got some libertarian friends with deep pockets. And I bet there's a whole lot of other people that know some libertarian friends with deep pockets. I have a theory about why people aren't giving, and I think that what has happened is the majority of people within the Libertarian Party are not people with deep pockets, but they're people with deep hearts and deep souls, and they give of their time and their energy. I think they can do a lot more to support culture and art, though, and so I encourage every libertarian out there listening tonight. And
again, you're putting your finger on it. We have a lot of people who are enthusiastic about the movie, particularly those who have seen it.
I'm enthusiastic about the movie. I can't wait to see it, I mean, Kevin Sorbo at his best, I mean, this is fantastic.
Well, it's not only Kevin Sorbo. We actually put together, a really kick-ass cast for this thing. Not only Kevin Sorbo, we've got Jake Busey from Starship Troopers in Contact playing the President of the United States. We have
and also in the first season of From Dusk Till Dawn, which just came out on Blu-ray just recently.
Right.
He was fantastic.
We have a couple of high-profile actors from Star Trek Voyager. We have Tim Russ and Garrett Wang. Tuvok and Ensign Kim from the Voyager series. We have Gary Graham from Alien Nation. We have Saeed Faraj, who played opposite Matt Damon in Green Zone. We have Mara Marini from Parks and Recreation. She played the adult film star Brandy Max on Parks and Recreation. And we have Valence Thomas, who was in Men in Black 3. So in other words, we have a lot of actors who, with a lot of experience behind them, and then we have a bunch of actors I've worked with previously, and then some newcomers. So I mean, in terms of what we put on the screen for what I hate to call a low budget, thing, but realistically, when you're out of Hollywood, that's really what you're dealing with. We put together an action-adventure movie that goes well beyond what you would expect for the amount of money we spent on it.
Right.
Including, by the way, and I love saying this, a full orchestral score recorded by the National Symphony Orchestra of Ukraine. And
wow.
How was that?
Wow. That I tell you what, there's no reason why everyone should not want to support this movie and do everything they can to make sure it's a huge success.
Well, thank you.
Neil, would you be able to bring this movie to Dave's home state of Texas? I mean, I think you would probably be interested in seeing this movie yourself, wouldn't you, Dave? Oh, I think...
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that it'd be great if the movie come to Texas.
Well, it's played in Texas a couple of times.
Where?
We played in Austin. We played in Dallas.
When?
Well, if you look on the past events, if you click through from the AlongsideNineMovie.com website to Todd, and then you simply scroll down, it shows you the previous screenings.
I'll take a look for it.
Wow. Jim, do you have anything, any questions you want to ask Neil?
Well, first I wanted to say I was excited to hear that you had Kevin Sorbo because I was a big Andromeda fan. So that was awesome. And I was wondering if you guys have been able to get any public appearances or anything through any of the Comic-Con type events going on around the country.
Not Comic-Cons, but when Kevin was at AwesomeCon in Washington, D.C., we managed to have some of the Alongside Night graphic novels at his table. And you see, Alongside Night is not just the original novel. At this point, it's not the movie. We've got a graphic novel, which is getting some attention. We have an audio book. We've gotten into a number of different forms, and so we do get out there. But again, and also we've had a lot of publicity. I mean, we had this movie on ABC's On the Red Carpet when they came to Kevin Sorbo's home and profiled him and showed clips from the movie. As I said, I was on the Ron Paul channel with Ron Paul. Ron Paul interviewed me and talked about the movie and told people to go out and see it. Both Kevin and I did separate appearances on Alex Jones' InfoWars, and
I saw that one. Yeah,
I did the Rick Amato show. I did a local show in Vegas. Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, it's not like we haven't gotten publicity on it. We've gotten out there in a big way into the major media. But again, the trick is to have the movie in the theaters when you're getting this attention. And so far we're still, as I say, almost in pre-release.
What's the major roadblock right now? Is it that people need to go to Indiegogo and make a contribution? Would that be the best thing people can do to help right now?
Yeah, but I mean,
there's so many other things I know.
The numbers required. I mean, this is $100,000 or nothing. And so, what you were talking about sympathetic deep pockets. I mean, really, if there's somebody who wanted to sponsor the distribution, $100,000 is not beyond. Either a lot of individuals or a lot of organizations, but somebody's got to do it. You got to have the right person. This movie, Pat Heller, has put a lot of money into making the movie and publicity, but this next step of distribution is just one more thing we need a little extra outside support on.
Right.
I wish organizations like Cato and Reason were as supportive of movies as they are of economists and historians and supporting economics departments. I mean, they see and the funny thing is, somebody like David Koch, spent I can't even imagine how much money he spent. It was in the millions and millions of dollars to support the renovation of Lincoln Center. But when it comes to supporting libertarian artists, that doesn't happen.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. I wish. I even wish groups like and you mentioned Reason. I wish Reason.tv would have more of a stronger focus on this.
I have got no complaints with Nick Gillespie and Reason TV because he sent out a couple of his. First of all, he interviewed me about the Alongside Night very early on. I think it was in 2010 or 2011 for Reason TV. And then he sent out a couple of his reporters and units to do interviews with both Kevin Sorbo and myself when we had our red carpet in Beverly Hills on July 14th. They haven't had it up yet, but nonetheless, that's in the pipeline. But you're right. There should be something like Reason TV, to be able to get into the theatrical end, and be more of a player in the entertainment end of this. And there doesn't seem to be anything in the libertarian movement to do that.
Well, how about the independent show on Fox Business?
I spent an hour talking with Camille Foster at the Libertarian Party convention and gave him copies of the DVD and the book and the graphic novel and of course, I think I ran into Kennedy at least briefly at a Freedom Fest a couple of years ago. But again, they haven't had me on to talk about it, and that's disappointing.
Yeah, it is.
Fox News is a tough nut to crack. On the other hand, Andy Levy had Kevin Sorbo on to talk about Alongside Night on Red Eye.
I mean, which is on one hand, great for you because it actually opened the door. It cracked open that door so that people can get a glimpse of what your movie is all about. But at the same time, they really didn't invite you onto the show to talk about it, and
if there were a way to set it up, I would be willing to license to show the movie on either Fox News or Fox Business. I think it would just be awesome for that audience if they were to play the entire movie on one of those channels. But I mean, how do you make a deal like that?
Yeah. That's that would be fantastic. But when the movie, once you try to get some kind of backing, and Neil, I will definitely back you. I will come up with money. I don't care how I do it. I will see to it that your movie reaches from one end of the country to the other, even globally. In what shape, form, or whatever, I will do it. And you know what? I will gladly ask for a Blu-ray copy when it comes out.
Well, thanks. And that will be if things go according to track somewhere before June of next year.
Wow, looking forward to that as well. And that's easy to share then.
And if you could, I would be glad to, get like if it's okay with you, I would love to, and if it's all the same, I would love to air a teaser of your film on this channel to promote it, and to if that's okay with you.
Well, I mean, actually, if you go to YouTube right now, our teaser trailer actually plays pretty well, audio only.
Oh, okay. So I will definitely do an audio. Okay, that'll be great. But how's the graphic novel selling? I mean, I had no idea there was a graphic novel out already, and now that you've piqued my interest in it, I want to get a copy of that graphic novel.
Yes,
easily done, because everything we do in terms of the novel or the graphic novel or the audiobook, it's all on Amazon.com, and we've for digital copies we've marked it down to practically nothing. As a matter of fact, I believe that if you buy the if you buy the novel or something like that on Kindle, which is like $2.99, I think that you get the audio book for another $2 or something like that.
Wow, that's so inexpensive. Thank you.
Yeah, and the graphic novel is also a Kindle edition for very, very cheap also.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic.
Very affordable for everyone.
I've been asked, Neil, if you want people to watch this movie, why don't you just stream it on the web? And the answer is, I would love to if there was some way to get my investor's money back. But my job is that if I don't get him his money back, nobody's going to want to finance my next movie, and I'm dead in the water.
Right.
Have you actually looked into, what is the state of the film right now as it is? Is it really stuck in going on the libertarian circuit? Is it, have you gotten...
Right now, anybody in the United States can go into Todd, again, linked from the alongside.movie.website, simply click on the link to Find Theaters, and anybody who wants to can find a local theater and put it in it, or arrange for a screening, for a club or a group or a college class or something like that. That's all set up. It's turnkey. It's painless. The only thing is that you have to actually be able to come up with, either the minimum number of ticket sales in terms of putting it into a movie theater, which again averages around maybe 70 tickets sold. You got to be able to find 70 friends or a campus organization or something that's willing to do that, and it's been done, so it can be done. Or if you're going to put it into on a college campus for a screening or a group or something like that, I think Tug has a minimum charge of around $300 or something like that to do it. But again, it'll be easier to to show it, to friends once once the DVD or Blu-ray is out next year. In the meantime, however, if we want this movie to be outreach, if we want it to be on the shelves in Walmart and Best Buy and Target and in Redbox, and eventually be showing on video on demand on DirecTV, Comcast, something like that, we have to have some sort of theatrical presence first, and that's the trick, and we're hoping to do that, but we need some sort of institutional support, which hasn't materialized yet.
Now, when it does come out on DVD and Blu-ray eventually, will you autograph my copy for me, Neil?
Oh, done deal. Done deal.
Well, I'm going to have to jump in here and ask for the same thing, okay?
Oh, it's my pleasure. I live for that sort of stuff.
Of course. Well, Neil, I tell you what, the movie could have no better promoter than you, and I'm assured that you have a promotion department that is working with you, right?
Yeah, we have a top Hollywood publicist working with us, Levine Communications.
Right. Well, I don't know if there's anything. I don't know if it would help, but one suggestion that I would have, if you don't already, is to have an action button on your website, and where you can create a page where you can put down line by line the things that they can do to help get this movie out there in the mainstream.
Actually, it's all there.
Cool.
Everything that anybody would need is linked from the AlongsideNightMovie.com website.
I'm not surprised that the professional that you are that is the case.
And including, by the way, you simply click from the homepage on videos. That takes you to our YouTube list, which has all of the videos on there, the trailers, the teaser trailers, the music videos, the interviews, and some outtakes from the movie, including a full Adam Kokesh speech, which he delivered. The only used part of in the movie.
I love Adam, man. It's been so beautiful to watch his spiritual growth over the last several years and to see where he is now. I just read his article at, what is that website? Personal Liberty, libertybriefing.com.
Yes.
Libertybriefing.com.
And by the way, as long as we're doing plugs here,
go.
Jordan Page, who toured with.
I love him too.
he does a song in our movie, and again, we have that video on YouTube, and we also have it in the movie itself.
Wow. That's fantastic. What about Kickstarter? Try to get some backing through, say, fans of the book and everything, to get this movie, just to pay for the rental spaces and everything for.
Well, Kickstarter is more restrictive than Indiegogo in the sort of campaigns they do. Kickstarter will do a campaign to raise funds to make a movie, but it's outside their purview to do it to distribute a movie, which is why we went to Indiegogo.
What's the logic behind that?
It's just the way they're set up. On the other hand, Indiegogo is fine for what we need to do. If we had the thousands of people coming to the campaign that we need, but again, what makes an Indiegogo campaign go viral? One Indiegogo campaign go viral and another one not? Is I'm not enough of an expert on social media to know.
Right. Anybody have any other questions for Neil?
Well, I just wanted to tell Neil, I'll send you a private message on Facebook, and if there's anything that I can get involved with to help you, I'll be glad to do that.
Well, again, thank you. And again, right now, the campaign that we would like to do right now, and if I'm talking to people who can listen here, this is what I'm trying to do. If we can come up with $5,000 to rent a screen in 20 different cities, which comes up to $100,000. And there are people who are willing to actually go. If we can get 500 tickets sold in each of those cities, well, then we've done what we need to do to give the support to the distributor of the DVD and Blu-ray to be able to get that into the big box stores like Walmart. So that's our plan.
Okay.
Excellent. Well, I've got a few people in mind right now that I'll be calling tomorrow.
Well, thank you.
Oh,
You're
well,
quite welcome.
No, and I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking, Neil. But, what if it was more than that? Say, more than $100,000 that you've raised or whatever. Whatever you raise is on top of the cutoff point where you raise $100,000 for that rental space in those 20 cities. What if you raise more than that?
Well, we could do one of two things. We could either add additional cities, or we could do additional promotion for the cities we're going to be in.
Okay, that makes sense.
May I ask one more question of Neil? Are you open for other investors as well, or are you just taking donations?
No, I mean,
if someone wants to invest,
investor who wants to come. That basically distribution is you used to have two parts to it called P&A, which is prints and advertising. Well, nowadays with digital distribution, The print part is almost nothing. A couple of $100, per theater. And it's really a matter of simply being able to sell the minimum number of tickets to make it worthwhile. Again, if it costs us $5,000 to rent a theater for a week, then basically that $5,000 has to be covered by ticket sales, which is somewhere in the area of around 500 tickets at $10 a piece. Those are the raw numbers.
Right. How about you, Dave? Jim, Norm, any other questions you have for Neil?
Well, if I could ask Norm a question. I mean, Campaign for Liberty has been, pretty well, I guess, focused on political campaigns. Is it really outside the purview of an organization like CFL to get involved in something like this?
I'm not sure. I have to take that up with my. But one thing, I mean, we have promoted it on our blog, and
you wrote a wonderful article about it.
To continue to do that, actually, because I think that it's valuable. One thing we haven't really touched on is that this is valuable outreach material, which I think.
I feel that movies and graphic novels and novels are ways to reach the millennial generation.
Right.
I think far more than political campaigns. I mean, particularly now that Ron Paul isn't a candidate.
Right.
And it's gonna, and I think this avenue that you're talking about, Neil, is going to be more of a successful platform than, say, one for Rand Paul, who is most likely going to run as a GOP candidate for president in 2016. But, that goes without saying, of course. Now, I guess what really comes down to it, how has the feedback been so far? I mean, has it been overwhelmingly positive?
We've had some very enthusiastic screenings, with audiences very enthusiastic and whooping and hollering at the end of the movie, and I was there to see some of that. Kevin Latchford, who's one of our producers, he says that every time he shows the movie, he gets enthusiastic response. But again, we're in a almost pre-release situation where so few people have seen it. It's really hard to get a general idea.
Right.
Now
anybody out there who's listening, please, I'm begging you. I'm going to get on my hands and knees and beg you, please, go see Neil's movie alongside Night. It's got Hercules in it. It's got a number of amazing actors, Garrett Wang in it as well,
and take your family and friends. This is a family movie.
Well, we're PG-13. I want to be clear about that. PG-13.
Well, a family. Yeah.
Which means there's some stuff in there you don't want to bring the young children to.
Yes, of course.
But I've seen the trailer. I've seen some of the clips and everything. Neil, from what I've seen so far, it looks great. It looks awesome. I am very, very stoked.
Well, thank you. And by the way, there is one upcoming. Actually, I'm looking on the Tug event page right now. There's one screening that I know that is going to happen on October 23rd in Spokane, Washington, which is at the AMC River Park Square 20 theaters, 8:30 p.m. on October 23rd. There is a screening which has not yet been confirmed because not enough tickets have sold yet in Evansville, Indiana, October 21st at the AMC Evansville 16. That's pending because, again, there haven't been enough tickets sold to guarantee it yet. And then there's one November 3rd in Denver, Colorado, 7:30 p.m., AMC Cherry Creek 8. Again, awaiting enough ticket sales to guarantee it to happen.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
But again, if it's not playing at a theater near you listening in the audience, you can simply go on that same page and you can host a screening. But again, you got to figure out a way to sell the 70 tickets if you're putting it in a theater, or it doesn't happen.
Right. So, if when there's the old saying, when there's a will, there's a way.
I agree. And by the way, we just did up a brand new poster, which I love, which has Kevin Sorbo on there, and the tagline to the movie is "Freedom is not dead."
That's nice. That's nice.
Nice.
No, it's not dead. And fear not, the end is near, and the new beginning.
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love your presence, Neil. You're such a beautiful spirit, and anyone that doesn't just fall in love with you and your movie is crazy.
Well, thank you so much. I do. I love hearing that. That makes my day and raises my spirits.
Yeah, that's and same here, my friend. You're a fantastic fighter for liberty, and you're a fantastic spirit all the way around.
I've been doing this for a while now.
Yeah, and
well, you made my night tonight just calling in, and you made me forget about everything that troubled me. Just hearing your voice and sharing your passion.
Thank you.
And that's great. What was it like to work with Jake Busey, the actor? I mean,
he's such a cut up. He is just a delight to have around. But I have to tell you, my most embarrassing moment is when I'm directing him and I accidentally called him Gary.
Oh, what did he think of that?
He did not let me forget that for the rest of the shoot. You see, because I was also directing Gary Graham, so.
Right, and he's like, I'm never going to let that down. So.
And that was one of those was my face red moments.
Oh wow. But I will say that I love Kevin Sorbo. He's honest. He's got a great spirit, and he commands a great presence on screen. And I think from what it looks like, he's going to do great. And if he doesn't win an Academy Award nomination for this, I'm going to stop watching Academy Awards before you know it.
Yeah, I don't think the Academy is quite looking at us for that.
Yeah, no, but that's okay, isn't it?
Yeah. I'll tell you, it would be nice if we got a Prometheus Award for it, but they don't usually focus on dramatic things, more literary.
Yeah, a Prometheus Award would be very special.
It would be great. But thank you so much for calling in, Neil. You've been fantastic. Keep up the great work. Keep me updated on the movie. I'll do what I can to help you, promote the film, and I think you're on your way. I think this is your gold mine.
Thank you so much. And pardon me, just one more thing. Make it a little easier to find your show on the web.
It's right now. Right now I have it on toddandrewbarnett.com. There's a link on there. It's not the best widget right now so far. I have to fix that. WordPress is not exactly the greatest platform, but it's good enough as far as I'm concerned. But you can do so at letlibertyring.blogspot.com. You can listen in to the widget. You can also call into the show directly at talkshoe.com. Find my show on there. Just do the search field for Liberty Cap Talk Live, and just come on, and just if you want to participate in the chat, you got to register with the system, unfortunately, but that's just the way it is.
Well, I'll be listening whenever I can figure out the widget.
Okay. So, but anyway, thank you so much for calling in, Neil. And
it's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Okay.
Take it easy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, since
what a treat that was, huh?
That was a treat. That was a treat to have Neil on the show here. You know, I will say this. He is just, you know, full of energy and whatnot. I will tell you this. I like his spirit, and he's just
pure. He's pure spirit. Yeah.
Yeah. Please go see his movie on the net if you can. It's available, as Neil said, alongside Night. But better yet, help him get his movie into the movie theaters fast. If you can, I feel like I'm hosting the Jerry Lewis talk. You know,
that was perfect. I love you, Todd.
So I feel like I'm doing that. You know, please send in your donation to help the kids. No, I mean, yeah, you know.
Let me just say again, I think that where, you know, the liberty movement, the libertarian movement's made tremendous progress on most fronts in the past several years, but I do think that we're lagging behind in Hollywood. And I know that it's common for both political types and the more academics or writers to kind of look up their nose and say, you know, that stuff is for the sheeple, but it does matter to it can have an impact on opening people's minds. And I would remind you that before the Ron Paul 2008 and 2012 presidential campaigns grew the liberty movement, particularly among the younger generation, the person who was most responsible for introducing people to libertarian ideas and Austrian economics was a novelist, Ayn Rand.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, so, you know, the history of our movement itself shows how works of fiction can have great real-world impact.
Right. And you know what? I think the left-wing intelligentsia in Hollywood is on the verge of collapsing because a lot of their content they're coming out with is, in every sense of the word,
worthless.
It's worthless. It's shit. You know, I mean, it's really awful. But that's just how it is.
Yeah, like I said earlier, it's a system, CYST, and it's dying.
Right. Now, moving on to what happened with the discussions here. You know, the ISIS situation, which has been going on for well over a year now. Actually, it's been going on for a number of months, and we all know what ISIS stands for.
We have to really. Do we really have to go here? But go. I'm just playing with you. Go.
The Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, also known as ISIL. You know, the Islamic State in Iraq, Levant, or whatever they go by. And, you know, apparently they did take over this city called Kobani, and now the people there are fleeing there in massive droves. We're talking, say, over 200,000 people have fled the city, but there are still 700 people left in that city, and they're being taken over by ISIS. And that's all I've been hearing on the shows like The Independent, Fox News.
Mm-hmm.
Should we go after ISIS?
It's called fear porn.
Fear porn. That's right. My question is, does ISIS really need to be taken out? Do we really need to be in fear of these?
No, the motherfuckers behind them need to be taken out. That's who needs to be taken. Forgive my language, but sometimes I get upset about this shit. And the ones behind them, the one that created them, like the U.S. government and Kuwait and Qatar and the list goes on, that have created this monster in order to instill fear and to justify prolonging and adding more war and more profit for those that are at the top of the pyramid. So that's all I got to say on the matter.
And the Obama administration, which championed itself as anti-war in 2008, except I had said even at the time, Obama is an anti-war butt candidate. He's the guy who says, I'm anti-war on Iraq, but we had to go into Afghanistan and take out those fucking turbans. I mean, we had to just, we had to do that. I mean, we're talking about Obama pulling that.
Well, remember, Afghanistan has turned into one of the great, and nobody really talks about that, even in the anti-war movement, how Afghanistan has turned into a great bait and switch, because we went in there because it was the refuge of Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden.
Opium.
And that mission became, in fact, if you'll recall, in mid to late 2022, I believe, the U.S. troops actually thought they had bin Laden cornered, and they were on the verge of wiping out Al-Qaeda and getting bin Laden. I might be exaggerating, but the fact is that they were diverted from that mission in order to prepare for a war against a government, a secular dictator who had no connection to 9/11, had no connection to Al-Qaeda. In fact, and he was a nasty piece of work. I don't doubt that. I'm not defending Saddam Hussein. I'm certain that he's rotting in hell. But he was an enemy of radical fundamentalism because he was a secular dictator. And so if we hadn't toppled Saddam Hussein, we would not have fanatical jihadists beheading American journalists on YouTube.
Like James Foley and Stephen Softlot, and there's Alan Henning, I believe that's his name. Right.
So this is all continues blowback, and it I would take the. I was about to say I would take Lindsey Graham seriously, but I'll never take Lindsey Graham seriously.
No.
Let me rephrase it and say I would have more respect for the Lindsey Grahams and John McCains of the world if, when they make their case for military, and Barack Obama and the rest of the foreign policy establishment, if when they make their case against or for new intervention against ISIS, they would admit that they were wrong in 22.
But you know something, Norm?
2002.
Right, but the John Boltons of the world, I mean, even John Bolton himself, will never go to such fucking state to say, okay, we were wrong to invade Afghanistan. We shouldn't have gone into Iraq, and we should have, possibly, maybe we could have sent some mercenaries after the terrorists who attacked us on 9/11 and just be done with that and close the chapter on that bark. But no, we didn't. We thought that we could go in there, we could, liberate the entire world of Islamic extremism,
Hello?
if you will. I'm here.
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me, Norm?
Hello?
Mark, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. I think maybe we're having a problem with Norm's side here. But you understand where I'm going with this, Dave, right? I mean, the whole thing where I think no matter what we could have said or have done, it was going to blow up in their faces. Dave? Okay, I think he left. Jim, are you still with us?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. As I was trying to say to Dave, I think Dave might have left too. And I think Norm was having a problem. So what do you think?
They can just call back in, right?
They can just call back in. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Because I was really enjoying hearing the analysis. That was Neil, right? Speaking or?
No, that was Norm.
Norm. Okay, I'm sorry. Two N's, so I got them confused. But yeah, I really appreciate his analysis.
Okay, here's Norm. He's back.
Yeah. Oh, hi.
Okay. Hang on here. Let me see if I can get him back on the air here. Norm, are you there?
Todd?
Yeah.
Hey, it's no. I don't know what happened. I lost you.
I was just saying, Norm, that I really appreciate.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
I guess there was a technical difficulty that happened on your end or whatever.
Probably the NSA.
Probably the NSA. Exactly.
You were hitting it home, weren't you?
But as I was trying to say, when somehow you got cut off, or that you heard me cut off at some point, these are the people who aren't going to say we were wrong for invading Iraq and Afghanistan and the other wars. We have to maintain the war on terror. And yes, we have to take out ISIS because it's a threat to America.
Well, there's one. Hey Todd, there's. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but there's one thing that I take exception to, and you and Norm both said it, and you referred to them not being willing to admit that they're wrong. See, there's something wrong with that. See, because they weren't wrong, they were wrong, yeah, and they knew they were wrong when they were wrong. So they're not going to admit it because they know they're wrong now. They're wrong to us. They're wrong to humanity, but they're right in what they're trying to accomplish. In other words, they're achieving their goals. These people know what they're doing. Okay? So they're not wrong.
I understand that point of view there, Mark, but what I'm trying to point out here is that I don't think we should, give kudos to that kind of thing. And I think that the problem with John Bolton is he's stuck with this mentality that it's us versus them when it's him versus the entire world, including Americans who had nothing to do with 9/11 and the Muslims who also had nothing to do with 9/11.
Well, I could say a lot of very colorful things about all of those characters: Lindsey Graham, John McCain, John Bolton, and the rest. But I'm going to save your audience that negative energy tonight, okay? And I'm just going to. Okay. I just wanted to put that in there. I agree with what you and Norm both are saying for the most part.
Yeah. Well, I prefer Michael Bolton to John Bolton myself.
Yeah, of course. Me too.
But your thoughts on this, Dave, if you're still there.
I am here.
Yeah. So, your thoughts on ISIS. You've been the quiet one on this, so it's all yours. The floor is yours.
The problem with ISIS, the real problem as far as we're concerned with dealing with ISIS, is that we haven't got a full commitment from the Turks to actually take action. The problem for us is the conflict between the Turks and the Kurds, and the Turks are not willing to give the Kurds any help. And if we want to help out the Kurds, which we do, without the Turks on board, it's meaningless, and we're not going to get any local commitment of a serious level. And if we don't want to go in with boots on the ground, it's futile. So we might as well just, bag the whole program and stay out and let ISIS run amok until it eventually falls afoul of Iran, which it will do eventually. And
excellent point. That was an excellent. Yeah, that's excellent point right there. Yeah, I agree. I would agree with that 100%. We just need to hold back, stay back.
It's also interesting that, as Dave excellently pointed out, that the Turks would rather
they'd rather let ISIS fight against the Kurds to weaken the Kurds, so the Turks can have free reign in that region. And that's not right. It's not to our advantage or our interest. The Turks, Erdogan is a real piece of work, and with him in charge in Turkey, they're going to become worse and worse, and we shouldn't be essentially helping them out. Right,
and I totally agree with you on that. I think there is a problem with the fact that we are helping ISIS in some ways because we were the ones that trained them. We funded them against the Assad regime last year. Mm-hmm. And that worked out so well for everybody involved, now didn't it? I hate to sound very cynical about this, even more so jaded, but it was a major clusterfuck. Wasn't it, Norm?
Presided over by John McCain.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, Jim, it's your turn. You have any questions or any thoughts you want to throw on this?
Well, kind of getting back to a point you I think one of the panelists had made earlier about these guys would have more credibility if they apologize for anything. I agree with Mark. They know that they have no clothes on and they don't care. They're going to do what they want. But anybody who studies history themselves ought to be able to figure out. We don't know what we're doing in the Middle East. We have no right to be messing around. We've been, as a nation, jacking it up since 1953. Operation Ajax, which completely destabilized Iran, then put the Shah into power, which led to Khomeini being able to take control. Screwing up in Iraq as early as 1958, helping Saddam eventually find his way to power, and when he was no longer our useful idiot, then, suddenly we have to do the Gulf War. It's just a series of very blatant and obvious screw-ups. And how this is not going to work out any better. It hasn't worked out in 60 years. Today's not our day.
And Ajax is not a household cleaner, by the way, just so everybody knows. Just kidding. But that's the big problem, though. With ISIS, is ISIS really a big threat to America? It's an idea. It's a group of people who are saying that we meddled into the foreign region for so long that what happened to James Foley, that what happened to Stephen Softlaw and Alan Henning, they're collateral damage because they were stupid dupes who were willing to go into that region and allow themselves to get killed in the crossfire.
Well, James Foley was an agent. You know, he was an agent, and so yeah, he wasn't necessarily. He wouldn't really, in a sense, yeah, he was duped. But you know, I'm not even convinced that they were even killed. Okay.
Well, I agree with you on that one hand, only for the simple reason that when I saw the video, and I saw the video of James Foley, all you saw was the British ISIS thug, you know, taking out his sword and hacking away at his throat, and then the camera faded, the picture faded, cut away, and then when it faded back in, all you saw was a head and a body on the ground, but there didn't seem to be like shitloads of blood squirting out of the body, just very little. And I'm thinking, if they're going to behead somebody, why wouldn't they have shown the head being lopped off?
They would have. They would have if it was real.
Come on, it doesn't. There's conspiracy theories about whether or not it was real or ridiculous. It's cheaper and easier for ISIS to behead people than to do special effects.
Well, you know,
I mean,
everyone has their theory. You know, I mean, your conspiracy theory is not any better than mine.
Yeah, mine's not a conspiracy theory.
Well, you were there. You saw what happened, right?
Well, I believe that they beheaded those people.
You believe, that's right. So it's a theory. It's a theory, my friend. And that's all I'm saying.
There is no evidence.
I admit that I have a theory, okay? I'm just saying your theory is no better than mine.
But
it is because it's based on facts and evidence, whereas yours is based on bullshit.
Well, bring us the evidence. Show us. We're listening.
Okay, but here's the problem, though, Dave. Why did they cut away from the video? And why didn't they just show the execution to the point where the head was completely severed from the body, like it was coming off? Why did they cut it out?
Why would they not? I mean, I don't know why they. I don't know why they cut away and then cut. But it doesn't. I mean, Foley's gone. He's dead. The other journalists are gone and dead as well. There's no evidence that they survived. They haven't contacted anyone. They haven't, been trotted out for a second execution or anything like that. There's no reason not to believe that these people executed them. They certainly had the intent and the will and the ability to do it. And in fact, even if they hadn't executed them, it's the same thing because the intent is what matters.
I'm not saying that your theory isn't logical. I think it's very logical. I also think mine is. That's all I'm saying.
There are two
questions.
Razor? Have you ever heard of Occam's razor?
Of course.
Okay, under Occam's razor, your theory doesn't make sense because why would they go to the trouble of doing that? What advantage do they have from keeping these people alive?
Well, it was to generate support amongst the people in the West in order to support these illegal wars of aggression and exploitation. That's all. That's what it's all about. People just need to get their head out of the sand.
Hang on 1 second there, Mark. I'll grant you this on this one point that you're making, Dave. Mm-hmm. And I agree with you on one point, which is, look, yeah, they were killed. I do believe they were executed. I just think that execution that they showed was staged, but I think they were killed off camera. And what happened to them was just a dummy to make it look like it was them. That's just me. I could be wrong. Maybe it is real.
It's what the question is: where are the journalists if the beheadings were fake?
Right, and what
Todd would answer that they're dead. They just didn't die on camera of beheading. And secondly, I think Dave makes a key point, which is why would ISIS go through all that trouble to pretend that they were beheading someone? I mean, is it just that they really they're murderers, but they just don't have the stomach for beheading? But their PR guy said this will really rattle them in the West if we
these videos were produced.
Why would they do
videos?
that?
Well, these videos. Well, I'm telling you, these videos were produced by agents within the United States government and other governments. Okay, this ISIS is a creation. You can say I'm insane all you want to, but you can't prove it.
No, I can't. Oh, it'll be proven when they come to take you away.
I wouldn't say that Mark's insane. I would say that the idea that ISIS is a direct creation and that the people in those videos are actually agents or on the payroll of the United States government is a theory that lacks
all I'm saying is
validity.
it certainly lines up. Well, it certainly lines up with the Project for New American Centuries of rebuilding America's defenses. So if anybody's not read that, please go read it because everything that's happening lines up with their plan. So you tell me they're not involved. You're insane. You're insane. I'm not.
Okay, I've read the Project for the American Century. The problem is that a lot of people assume that correlation equals causation, and just because in that document they state that a new Pearl Harbor is needed,
I'm not going to debate it
does not
with you.
mean that the neocons were directly behind.
I will say that
behind, or agents in our own government were directly involved in terrorist attacks. Now. There is a problem that we don't know the full truth because there is the 28 redacted pages of the 9/11 Commission report, which two sitting members of Congress have read and have come out and said that's very disturbing and that changes everything that you believe that most Americans believe about the events leading up to 9/11 will be changed by that. Now that the general speculation of the little clues that we've been able to get is that this suggests greater involvement of the House of the Saudi Arabian royal family, perhaps closer ties to the Bin Laden organization than we've been led to believe, but it's just a possibility. However, even that should not lead people to jump to the conclusion that it was an inside job. There's no evidence of that, and again, it's correlation equals causation. And just because the neocons took advantage of the crisis atmosphere after September 11th,
that's complete bullshit.
That's like saying that Ron Paul orchestrated the collapse in 2008 because he took advantage of that to spread the truth of Austrian economics and grow the anti-Federal Reserve movement.
Yeah.
That doesn't quite match up, but okay.
Well, wait a second here, and I have the final say on this one. I see what you're saying, Norm, and I agree with you on that count. Entirely what you said there. Okay. The thing is, what really gets me is, and I saw the video myself, and why YouTube took it down, I think it was stupid of YouTube removing that video, because everybody should have seen that video of what happened to Foley himself, and even Softlot and Henny. But, but even at that, let's say they were actually executed right on the spot, and going with your point, and I'm willing to concede right there, Dave, that that it did happen at that point. Okay, it does make it look suspicious that the camera cut away. It does. It makes it look suspicious. I mean, if I'm going to show somebody being cut off, I want to see blood and guts and entrails coming out of that body to prove, they did make these videos rather well, and they're made for consumption by the Western media. They may well have assumed that if they made it too bloody, the sites like YouTube would pull it off the air. And they wanted to have it exposed as far as possible, so they may have toned down the violence.
That's a good point, Dave. That's a good point. And that also could play into the idea that the actual murder was done by a more traditional means, and that they wanted to, though, create the appearance of doing a beheading without actually showing that, because they wanted to create that image. And sometimes the idea of something happening is more horrifying than actually seeing it. This is a very poor analogy, and I really hope that nobody takes this as offensive. But I'm thinking of the fact that in the famous shower scene in Psycho, you never actually see the knife stab the woman, but everybody thinks they see that, and that is still 20 times more powerful than any graphic scene out of Michael Myers or Freddy or Jason.
I see where you're going with that, and you're basically saying that the thought of the beheading is worse than the actual depiction of the beheading itself. So I see where you're going with that. But even if that's the case, where these two journalists, or now three, if you want to add Henning to it right now, if even at that, does that still justify airstrikes and going in to wipe out ISIS for more war? Does it really justify that?
What justifies airstrikes? I don't think that three journalists who assumed a certain amount of risk by being in there in the first place justifies airstrikes. It depends on whether you're willing to, if you commit to the concept that all American citizens or all Westerners or all humanity is going to be fought to protect, then that justifies airstrikes. But I don't know that we necessarily need to commit to that, do we?
Okay. Jim, what did you think of the beheadings? And you have the last word on this.
Well, I don't know, if they were 100% as portrayed on video or not. I don't believe that those journalists are alive, regardless. But
I don't believe they're alive.
Yeah, and I don't trust anything anybody's saying in media or politics with regards to what's going on over there. We've been lied so much about the simple stuff. I don't believe them on anything, anytime, regardless, because there's going to be manipulation for political gain or financial gain or for religious hatred. I don't give a shit. I don't trust anything that I've been told by anybody in any position of authority with regards to what's going on over there. I'm sure what's going on is bad, but I can't believe anything I see on the news. I can't believe anything that comes out of a politician's mouth.
Beautifully said, Jim.
Right. Now, here's another interesting thing that came out last week. I'm sure you guys saw. I don't know if you guys had seen the video that I put on my blog, which is, the clash between actor Ben Affleck and Bill Maher over, since this is tied into ISIS, the whole Muslim world, where Bill Maher and Sam Harris basically pontificated the ideology and genealogy of Islam by branding all Muslims along the lines of being terrorists, and they just want to kill us all. Yeah. They really want to destroy us. But I want to play a 5-minute clip of what was said on the air. I amplified it just for you guys alone. It's actually a 5.5-minute clip. Here it is in its entirety. Let me know if you can hear it. This is Ben Affleck and Sam Harris and Bill Maher. Go.
When I listened to that discussion that went on Friday night, it seems to me that the key line in it.
I mean, the crucial point of confusion is that we have been sold this meme of Islamophobia, where every criticism of the doctrine of Islam gets conflated with bigotry toward Muslims as people.
Right.
And that is it's intellectually ridiculous. Even it gets.
So hold on. Are you the person who understands the officially codified doctrine of Islam?
I'm actually well educated on this topic.
I'm asking you. So you're saying if I criticize you're saying that Islamophobia is not a real thing. That if you're critical of something,
it's not a real thing when we do it.
Right.
Well, no, it really is. I'm not denying that certain people are bigoted against Muslims as people, and that's a problem.
Bigotry.
But
why are you so hostile about this?
It's gross. It's racist.
It's not. But it's so not.
It's like saying
you're
50 Jews.
You're not listening to what we are saying.
You guys are saying if you want to be liberals, believe in liberal principles, like freedom of speech, like we are endowed by our forefathers with inalienable rights, like all men are created.
No, Ben, we have to be able to criticize bad ideas. And
of course we do. No liberal doesn't want to criticize bad ideas.
But why is the mother lode of bad ideas? Jeez. So we have ideas like blasphemy.
It is an ugly
apostasy.
It is basic liberal.
Well, let me unpack it.
Tolerance.
Let me unpack it.
But not for intolerance.
No, of course not. But the picture you're painting is to some extent true, but it's hugely incomplete. It is certainly true that plenty of fanatics and jihadis are Muslim, but the people who are standing up to them, Malala, incredible Muhammad Ali Dadak in Iran, in prison for 9 years for speaking up for Christians. A friend that I had in Pakistan who was shot this year, Rashid Rahman, for defending people accused of apostasy.
But how about the more than 1 billion people who aren't fanatical, who don't punish women, who just want to go to school?
Wait a second.
Don't do any of the things you're saying all Muslims.
Wait a second.
And you're painting the whole group religion with that.
No. Let's get down to who has the right answer here. 1 billion people, you say. All these billion people don't hold any of those. Don't hold these pernicious beliefs. No, I wouldn't. Well,
they don't.
That's just not true, Ben. That's just not true.
Can I just express how I think it breaks down?
The idea. You haven't even. You're trying to say that these few people. That's all the problem is. These few bad apples. The idea that someone should be killed if they leave the
That's
Islamic.
Horrible.
Wait. You're saying that the idea that someone should be killed if they leave the Islamic religion is just a few bad apples?
The people who would actually believe in an act that you murder somebody if they leave Islam is not the majority of Muslims at all.
Okay, let me break this down for you. We have, as you say, we have 1.5, 1.6 billion Muslims. Now,
second biggest religion in the world, a quarter.
Well, Ben, let me unpack this. Let me unpack this for you.
Please do.
We have just imagine some concentric circles here. You have at the center, you have jihadists. These are people who wake up in the morning wanting to kill apostates, wanting to die trying. They believe in paradise. They believe in martyrdom. Outside of them, we have Islamists. These are people who are just as convinced of martyrdom and paradise and wanting to foist their religion on the rest of humanity, but they want to work within the system. They're not going to blow themselves up on a bus. They want to change governments. They want to use democracy against itself. Those two circles arguably are 20% of the Muslim world. Okay, this is not the fringe of the fringe.
Research on?
A bunch of poll results that we can talk about. So to give you one point of contact, 78% of British Muslims think that the Danish cartoonist should have been prosecuted. 78%. So I'm being conservative when I roll this back to 20%. But outside of that circle, you have conservative Muslims who can honestly look at ISIS and say that does not represent us. We're horrified by that. But they hold views about human rights and about women and about homosexuals that are deeply troubling. So these are not Islamists, they're not jihad, but they both these views are divine. But they also keep women and homosexuals immiserated in these cultures, and we have to empower the true reformers in the Muslim world to change it. And lying about the link between doctrine and behavior is not going to do that.
The Great Divide. The Great Divide is not between Islam and the rest. It's rather between the fundamentalists and the moderate in each faith.
Yeah, but we're misled to think that the fundamentalists are the fringe. Okay, we have jihadists, Islamists, and conservatives.
And by the way,
hundreds of millions of people.
You're saying that the strongest voices are coming from those who are jihadists and extremists, and that represents a bigger piece of the pie than we often think is true.
There's no question.
Okay, so having said that, and even if that is true statistically or otherwise, the key thing to recognize that I don't think is part of the argument, but I think should be, is that there are voices that are oftentimes raised in opposition to these jihadists and to these extreme acts. Guess what? They don't get covered. They don't get exposed. and they're not given the same level of platform that we see the jihadists.
One reason they don't get exposed is because they're afraid to speak out. Because it's the only religion that acts like the mafia that will fucking kill you if you say the wrong thing, draw the wrong picture, or write the wrong book.
Now, having said that, coming from Bill Maher's mouth, what do you think about this whole clash? I'm on Ben Affleck's side on this, and I take great offense to what Bill Maher and Sam Harris said about every single Muslim that actually has not been, a participant in any of these killings. Only a very tiny fraction. We're talking a breadcrumb of certain people who use Islam as an excuse to kill, to actually assert the belief that it's our government that's responsible for committing these things, for invading their space, for coming onto their lands, and imposing what we call American values, which we're trying to use central planning to redesign the entire globe, if that's even the appropriate word to use. And I think it's pugnacious and patronizing on their part. What say you, panel?
I tend to have a lot of sympathy for what Todd you just said. I think that there is a strong element in the Mideast of as we were just talking about, ISIS, Al Qaeda, that uses Islam as a justification for terrorist act. I think that our foreign policy, when people talk about blowback, not just Ron Paul, but CIA experts like Michael Schur, part of what this is that our foreign policy acts as a recruiting tool for the fanatics. But if as Bill Maher and this guy's named Sam Harris believe, every Muslim is a secret or closet jihadist or shares their goals of establishing a worldwide caliphate, then we ought to be a lot more terrorist and support for terrorism than we actually see, because isn't Islam the one of the three largest religions in the world, and there's a substantial Islamic community in America? I mean, the evidence I think doesn't back up that claim.
And I'm glad you bring that up, because here in Michigan, in Wayne County, and I'm not too far from Wayne County, by the way, there is the city of Dearborn, which is basically nicknamed Muslim City, because you have a bunch of Lebanese Americans who are proud Muslims who practice their faith. They go to their mosques. And I don't see Muslims holding up placards on every street corner in Dearborn or anywhere in Michigan saying we want to kill Americans because they fucking bomb us and detest us. I just don't see that. I just don't see them as the biggest threat that they claim to be. But a lot of people in the establishment parties really want you to believe that Islam is out to kill you, out to behead you, because why? Because they're trying to establish a caliph?
No, it's because it's because of the people in the government here and the world rulers are intent upon maintaining their power, and the only way they can maintain their power is to have a feared populace and have a threat that's posed, and that's how they generate the war machine and make it possible for them to maintain their power. and it's that simple.
Yeah.
So they manufactured all of this. And they, when you say they, there really is no they. We created it because we're all consciousness, right?
But whenever we say that the United States government is responsible for a lot of the misery and the chaos and the doom that's been imposed upon the peoples over there in the Mideast region, we're often branded as anti-American. Oh, that we hate America because we don't support the war establishment, we don't support the military-industrial complex. So therefore, we're the fucking enemy. We're the bad guys. It's that simple. I mean, but you've been. I think you have been very critical of our war policy on many levels, haven't you, Dave?
Yes, of course. I grew up in the Middle East, and I know that Islam is not a monolithic evil, like they describe it. You mentioned Lebanese and Dearborn. Lebanese as a whole, there are different nationalities involved. Personalities are very different. Lebanese Muslims are much more reasonable. It's a much more civilized society than some of the other areas. And, even you talk about the people who are running everything. The Saudis are part of that elite, part of.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. I agree.
Yeah, and here's the thing. You have Sam Harris who's quoting these statistics that, it's not just the fundamentalists. It's the people who hold these primitive, arcane views of religion that are a threat and completely dangerous to America. Really, Sam? Really? How about militant atheism? Okay? Are you going to, because I'm a practicing Wiccan myself, does that mean that my views are primitive? That they are arcane? Does that mean that my personal religious beliefs, since I don't impose my religious beliefs on anybody, does that mean that does that mean I'm a threat? That my religious way of thinking is a threat? So therefore, how is it that you get that your religiosity, which is militant atheism, gets exempt from this? And how come I don't hear a peep from you, Sam Harris and Bill Maher, when it came to the IRA bombings in Ireland in the 1990s, when that shit was going down, and not a single peep from both sides of the aisle, from the Republicans and the Democrats, not a single peep came out opposing that brand of terrorism right there. Comments, anybody?
Well, Todd, I can add some perspective. As somebody who's managed a lot of people, I've worked as an HR manager in multiple industries and probably managed upwards of maybe around 5,000 people during my career. I've managed quite a few Muslims over the time from all over the world. They were all different, all had varying different beliefs within that religion. And not a single problem out of any of them with regard to religion. I remember one young lady, I believe her family was from Lebanon, in my office just crying. And, it had nothing to do with religion. She was having some self-esteem issues. She was in the shadow of an older sister who everything seemed to be easy for her, and she was just struggling. Right. And all she needed was some reassurance that, she was going to come into her own. And I put her into a challenging position in the store because I knew she could do it. And I refused to take her out of the position because I didn't want to give her a reason to quit. And I wasn't going to co-sign, the things that she was going through. And she came back a year later and thanked me for believing in her when she didn't believe in herself. And this is somebody who's supposed to be a jihadist because she's Muslim. This is just another kid. She was a kid. She was a mixed-up, scared kid in her first job and worried about how she was going to do in the shadow of an older sibling. And that's what I take away. I know a lot of Muslims from all over the world.
What a beautiful perspective. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and, I'm glad you brought that up. And by the way, we lost Dave, I think. His phone gave out or something. But, I really feel that, this is a problem that's endemic with a number of these anti-religious zealots who claim that they're not religious because they're atheists, and atheism is not a religion. Yet I've seen far more atheist rulers who have killed in the 20th century than religious zealots combined. True or false?
Well, communism was founded based on materialism, and it's in Marxist writings, that word materialism. That was dialectical materialism, the idea that religion is the opiate of the masses, and so National Socialism was opposed to Christianity, obviously Judaism, and the great religions of the West. So when you add up Stalin, Mao, Pol Pot, Lenin, Brezhnev, Castro, all the communist dictators, the atheist body count in the 20th century is pretty high. And you're right, Bill Maher has a history of attacking religions, and so it shouldn't be. Yeah. Right. I'm sorry. Go ahead. And so I think what he says about religion. You might want to consider the source, because he's clearly has an axe to grind. Yeah, he has. Well, he's not just he's an atheist. I know atheists. Murray Rothbard was an atheist, but he was very respectful of the role of religion in society. Yeah, he is a militant anti-religion atheist. He's not just a live and let live atheist.
Hey, Norm, what do you think about this? Whenever I think of atheism, I don't really see it any different than religion. It is a belief system. I don't see communism is any different than religion in many respects. Do you, at the very base level, would you not agree with that?
No, I would. Anything could be a religion.
They can be just as extremist, just as fanatical, and just as dangerous.
Oh, come on. Mark, communism and socialism are different kinds of atheism. It's like picking French vanilla and chocolate and mocha latte for...
Well, I'm certainly not the smartest person at the table by far. You've got some very excellent guests. I see some very beautiful spirits. They're doing really good work, and they really good intentions. Like myself, we may not agree on everything, but I just wanted to extend my love to all your guests and to you and Jim before the show ends. I know it'll be nearing that soon, and I didn't want to miss this opportunity. Yes.
Thank you, Mark.
And, that's the whole point, Jim. I know you're an agnostic yourself. As I understand it, agnostics are the kind of people who aren't really sure if there is a God, but you're willing to open the door to that possibility. If I understand my understanding of agnostics correctly, correct me if I'm wrong here.
Well, mine's a little bit different. I look at it like I can't prove yes or no that it exists. So you know what? I'm not accepting or rejecting. I'm sitting this one out and letting everybody else fight the battles.
May I just interject this? Since we're kind of speaking on the issue of spirituality and religion, I come at this where I grew up. My father was a Pentecostal preacher, and I'm gay.
Right.
And so you can imagine the kind of, upbringing I may have experienced. And so I recently just came into an awareness, a full awareness, I think, of who I truly am, which is all spirit.
And we know how you gay Pentecostals roll.
Yeah, and so it's just I see a bright future for humanity, and so I think we're just on the cusp of being able to actually witness it, and so I think the less energy we give to this system that we are operating in currently, unless we're doing it in the context of bringing it home to truth, what is really real. This physical realm is not what's real. It's more of an illusion. And what is real is the spiritual, which is invisible. And so if you can bring it back home to that and let us know, we all bleed red, right? All of us. Not a single human being bleeds any other color. And so when people can wrap their minds around that and come to a place where they stand in truth and they stand in love, then all else becomes irrelevant.
Unless you're from the planet Vulcan, I don't think you're not gonna bleed.
Right.
But that's the whole idea. But getting to the final topic here tonight, and I think we pretty much beat this one to a dead horse already. Enough is.
Hey, can I just comment on one thing about that video real quick? Ben Affleck, the only flaw I saw in what he had to say was he kind of screwed up when he was trying to say that a quote from the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution. And I just went fractal. I can't remember what he said, but he used founding fathers in place of God or the Creator, and so I thought that was kind of interesting, ironic even.
Yeah, but here's the interesting thing. We're getting into a final topic, which is a very dicey, tricky one, and it showed up on the news feed this week, and I was surprised to hear about it. I mean, this is an actor who appeared in Star Trek, the motion picture. He's been a pastor on a TV show, and he was on my favorite show, Revolution, which is as far as I'm concerned, a libertarian show written by
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, and the problem here is this is an actor who confessed to molesting 3 young girls. And I'm not going to play the whole tape because it's too long. I probably should have cut it down even further, but I'm going to play about at least a minute of it. It's a 4-minute 45 one, and I'm going to I'm going to play the tape as it is. Here it is. Okay, I guess that didn't come out so well. Well, anyway.
Well, I think you can tell us what you want us to know about it.
Well, apparently he confessed to his therapist and to his wife that he molested these 3 young girls, and she asked him their ages, and it sounded an awful lot like the guy on Seventh Heaven. His name's Stephen Collins. And apparently, he's supposedly he's a child molester, but I don't really want to be the guy to slam mud on him. I don't want to be the guy who says, okay, well, he's a pedo, throw him in prison, and throw away the key while we're at it. I do think he's entitled to some defense. The only problem is he really going to get a defense, and is he going to get cleared from this? I'm sure you guys have heard the audio tape. Did you guys get a chance to listen to the audio tape? And if so, what do you think?
I I didn't listen to the audio tape. I read some of the stories that you sent, and I read some stuff on Drudge and other sources yesterday. I didn't really watch whatever the show he was on, and I didn't realize who was he in the Star Trek The Motion Picture?
He played Captain Willard Decker. Remember the guy
who made out with the bald chick and became they joined with the machine?
Yeah, that's the one.
I don't know I'm not familiar with the origin of the Borg, but I watched that movie again last Christmas, and when it was done, I was wondering, like, wouldn't it be neat if that machine somehow ended up morphing into the Borg? But anyway,
there's a theory on that, by the way. But go ahead.
Yeah. But my the only thing that I saw that struck me as interesting from a political standpoint, because it shows the hypocrisy of a lot of people who in public are moral, and then you look into their own personal life and you're kind of like, ew, is that when Jessica Biel, the very attractive actress who got her start, she posed for one of those, like, I don't think it even exists anymore, Maxim type of magazines in the 90s when she was 17, I think shortly after she left the show. And he said it was child porn, and it was disgusting, and people should be ashamed of yourself. It's how hypocritical. You're out there criticizing this 17-year-old girl for posing provocatively, but not she wasn't nude. And I'm not making a moral judgment on the pictures or the magazine, but I am saying that
right.
You're molesting your 12-year-old babysitter, and you're going to pass judgment on your co-star on your 17-year-old co-star for pictures. I mean, right now it suggests that what he really was upset about was that she waited till she was 17 to do those shots. When she was too old for him.
So you think
I don't want to minimize this guy's crimes or hypocrisy by making light of it, but that is disgusting, and it's just like the politicians that you see on the floor of the House proposing as the great defender of morality, and then you find out that that when they're done with their speeches, they're going to go back in their office and fool around with their 20-year-old intern or their 16-year-old pages.
Which brings to mind,
quite a state of affairs, huh?
Yep.
Private state of affairs. I mean, the guy who is married to this actress. But what I don't understand is, why did she so long to do anything about this? If she had known about this years before, you'd think she would have turned his ass into the police. And on top of that, if the tape was made in 2012 and he made that confession, it sounds an awfully a lot like this guy, let me tell you. Okay? I mean, if it's an impersonator, it's a pretty good fucking one, myself. But if this guy actually had done what he had done, and he's actually honest about his confession, don't you think you might would have had him with you, and maybe you should have reconsidered not saying anything at all until the victim came forward and said, yeah, he molested me when I was 11 or 12 years old, and I was babysitting his kids and whatnot. Maybe he probably should have put put his comments under lock and key. But I don't know. I just think that this guy, it's very creepy the way this came out. I mean, TMZ. I'm just wondering, why didn't it come out some years before? Why now? And and believe it or not, TMZ pays their sources, which is what checkbook journalism is all about. So, doesn't that speak about TMZ, about its character as far as, well, gee, maybe...
What character?
Very, very dark character.
What character, I said. What character?
Well, that's true. That's true, too. But what say everybody? You think the guy's guilty? I don't know. I mean, it sounds like a confession, so therefore I'm leaning towards the fact that he might be guilty, that he may very well be guilty, but was it a setup? Was he forced to give the confession? I don't think so. There doesn't seem to be any indications of that. How about you, Mark?
Well, I'd love to jump in on this one. Gosh, I don't know where to go exactly, but, people that engage in that type of behavior, I don't know the man. I don't know if he's guilty. I don't know if he's innocent. According to law that we live under in this country, he's innocent until proven guilty. That's neither here nor there. Inside, what he really is, as I've mentioned before, he's pure spirit. What we can do as humanity for him and for those young ladies, if this indeed happened, is what we can do is we can recognize who they are. And then we can go inside ourselves and know ourselves better. And by doing so, operate in love with everyone around us. And as a result of that, all will be healed. And it's really that simple. And I know it's really far out there for some people to even consider that something like that is real. But what we think is real isn't real. And what we think isn't real is real.
Right. What say... do you? I think the guy's guilty, Norm, but I could be wrong. Listening to that tape, it was just ick. It was icky. What say you on this, based on your readings? Norm?
Like I said, I mean, it sounds pretty damning, and like I said, the hypocrisy of his public persona, if this turns out to be true, is very disturbing. And I think there's a lot of questions to be asked, though, about why the wife didn't come forward after apparently some of the weird and sickening things that he said, and if she had knowledge about this before, hopefully, for the sake of the victims, this turns out to have been false, because it means that these now grown women do not have to live with the memories of having gone through the hell of being molested when they were that young. But we'll see. And again, I think that what it does show is that we all need to be aware that you in this day and age, you should be careful who you put on a pedestal, who you idolize, who you look to as a moral exemplar, because you never know, and you see. And it actually does make a case for libertarianism, is what I was saying about the politicians, because you never know. Those who seek power oftentimes have issues of their own that they're they're dealing with. And when you look behind the surface, you'll find a lot of just disgusting personal behaviors in the way they treat people and the way they think they're exempt from the rules because they have power or wealth or celebrity.
I say this.
I will say that that's one of the things that makes Ron Paul unique in Washington is that he is what he appears to be, which is a very decent, humble, and loving father and husband.
Having said that, I wish Rand Paul would have, had been more like his father, but unfortunately, I think that skipped a generation here. Jim,
well, Rand is a decent human being and a good person, and a good husband and a good father. No matter what people might think of his politics as compared to his dad, or what neocons might think of him compared to Marco Rubio or anything else.
Yeah. But Jim, your thoughts on this story? Did you listen to the audio, and what did you think?
Yeah, I've seen quite a bit of it. It looks like there's something there, and from what I read, the police have been interviewing some of the girls, and they're gathering evidence. So I think if there's anything there, they're going to find more. And I am also concerned about when exactly the wife did know what was going on, and if she knew about it much earlier and sat on it, then she at this point ought to be being looked at for potential charges as well, because it looks to me like she brought it out as part of divorce proceedings, but she may have been sitting on it for a while, which means she could have endangered other kids.
You know how this whole legal system is set up. His side will say she's trying to set him up, and her side is trying to say that he's setting her up. And, of course, it's going to be an all-out legal war between both parties. And what they're not taking into account are the victims in this case. I mean, Jim, you were a rape victim yourself when you were in the military, and you can identify, at least to some degree, with what these kids are going through since they're much older now. And on some level, this is really horrifying to see these, because in every sense of the word, these young girls did not consent to the actual sex acts, if that's the case. As far as I'm concerned, it's child rape. I don't care how anybody colors it. It's fucking child rape. And that's exactly what this entire case was involved. I mean, when you get around 10, 11 years old, you are basically way over crossing the line here. Okay? And, teenagers are a different story, but when it comes to young children, particularly children at the ages of 10 and 11, and they're in the tween age, that's a whole different story. But like I said, Jim, you were a rape victim yourself, and I think you can identify with the victims, can't you?
Yeah, and I'm definitely very concerned that there's an investigation that happens fully. It's not tried in the media. It's actually, if there's something there, do something about it, regardless of what anybody else thinks. Let the victims have their say as to whether they want to go forward with charges. But they also need to be looking at the wife. What did she know? When did she know it? Did she report it as soon as she found out, or did she sit on it for personal gain? If she sat on it for personal gain, she goes to jail too.
And if she knew about it the entire time and didn't do a damn thing, then that means she's complicit in this. So that means she's going to be in legal hot water for that entire situation. And to punish all of the Seventh Heaven fans who watch the shows and reruns, to pull the plug on the whole thing, and that's just totally ridiculous, in my opinion. I mean, I can understand why he was fired from. He was supposed to be in an upcoming episode of Scandal, a non-libertarian show. He was also supposed to be in Ted 2. He was also fired from that movie just before the movie was about to start, and he was going to start working on it. But to punish the fans simply because of what this guy did, if it's authenticated, if it's proven beyond fact that what he did was a criminal, I think he should, pay restitution to the victims. And if that includes jail time, then I guess that includes jail time. But a criminal, a violent criminal act, which is exactly what this appears to be, deserves to be handled. And I hate to bring the cops into this. I don't trust the police when it comes to anything. Look what happened to Mike Brown. But but if the cops are involved, you're going to have to involve them one way or the other. Isn't that the case, Jim, Mark, everybody?
Well, since we don't live in an anarcho-capitalist society with private law enforcement, the state police officers are the only way to deal with this
Right.
issue. I mean, I'm not necessarily endorsing anarchism, although I am a Rothbardian, but I don't know how else to deal with this.
Right. Neither do I.
Of course, I did just think of one of Murray's favorite movies, and one of his favorite scenes in that movie is The Godfather at the very beginning, when the Undertaker is asking for justice for his daughter that was denied him by the courts, and he says, "For justice, we must go to Don Corleone." I'm not suggesting that. I'm just bringing it up there as a movie recommendation for people, and just something maybe to think about. Do some reading on Rothbard, Bruce Benson, Hans Hoppe, and lots of other thinkers have some interesting thoughts on just how to get justice without the state. But but for the time being, realist, we do have to rely on the police for this. And at the same time, we need to never turn our attention away from the serious issues of police brutality, police militarization, the continued erosion of our civil liberties in the name of the war on drugs and terror.
I totally agree. I guess we'll cover the Ebola topic next week, since we're out of time. So thank you, Mark and Norm and Dave Nalle and J. Neil Schulman for tuning in tonight. I was hoping that Mike Renzulli would be on with us, but I guess he chickened out. So,
Hey Todd, if I may, I want to say thank you so much for bringing your show back on the air. I think your voice is an important voice to be heard. I'm so grateful for what you're doing and the spirit in which you do it. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. But we'll table the discussion for Ebola next week, which I will say, it's a very serious matter, and of course, as anything else is concerned, I'll save my commentary and my new and rules for next week. This week we'll just give it a break. But thanks a lot, Mark. And thanks a lot to Norm and Dave and J. Neil Shulman.
Great guest tonight. Loved it.
Yep. Thanks
Thank
a lot,
you.
guys.
All right.
All right, Jim. What did you think about tonight's show?
Great return. It was good. Good to go. I liked it. I liked the fact that we had an unexpected call-in guest, so that's good. Hopefully we can have that happen some more.
What a breath of fresh air, huh?
Yeah. From what it sounds like, I think what we're going to do is we're going to see if Mark is going to come back because he and I...
Are you sure I'm still welcome after tonight? I hope that your guests realize that most of what I do is an act.
I know, but you know something? You bring a fresh perspective that people need.
You got to have a little bit of shock value there. You really do. And your wit and your humor and Jim's presence, his mere presence alone, brings so much to the table.
And think about it. It's like, of course, it's time. It's very great that we're having these discussions. Finally,
yes.
We're back on the air.
It's
Finally,
beautiful.
After so many months of kicking and
well, you had to kind of go through a crucifixion of sorts, And what I see is a new and improved Todd Andrew Barnett. Yeah.
Which is true. I did. So I'm reborn, baby. Reborn. And
love it.
Yeah, I thought tonight's show was great. It was, I think...
Interesting. It was interesting and entertaining both, and informative.
And on top of that, I was going to throw in the joke in case Norm was going to say, I wish I had thrown it in there, but I might as well just throw it in anyway. I guess Stephen Collins put in the motion in Star Trek the motion picture.
Hey, you're going to have to say that one more time. I didn't catch that.
I guess Stephen Collins put in the motion in Star Trek the motion picture.
Oh, that is so irreverent. Oh boy! I tell you what, we hope you didn't offend anyone with that. I certainly hope I didn't offend anyone tonight.
It's no, really. I'm not trying to, really make light of the whole thing, but
no, of course not.
But it's really icky to think about somebody who would do something like that and read about it in the news and on TMZ. I mean, TMZ is like the Star magazine of the internet, except their news coverage is even better than the shit you get from the Washington Post or the New York Times. I mean, it's far more entertaining. Wouldn't you say, Jim?
Oh yeah, definitely. The Washington Post is just something that I use to clean off the seat when it's wet on the train.
That's a perfect use for it.
Or if I have any use for the Washington Post, I use it just simply to wipe my ass and throw it into the toilet.
Hey, Todd. Yeah, I'm sorry. You go ahead. My apologies.
No, that's okay.
Well,
but
go ahead.
I was gonna say, we're gonna work on building up to it, but I think after having this mea culpa between the two of us, personally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Private.
Yeah, we had the most beautiful conversation the other day, Jim. I wish you could have been present for that, but it was special.
Yeah, we did, and it turned out, I seriously regretted taking Christina Tolan's side.
Yeah. Well, let's not even go there. I think
let's not even go there.
Let's not even go there. Hey, never mind. I just went fractal again. Finish your comment. Oh, we're being recorded, right?
We're being recorded, but
okay. Wonderful. Because if anyone listens to this later, and I'm sure they will, or they'll be missing out. I wanted to mention a friend of mine's radio program on Blog Talk Radio. He's a Muslim, and since we were discussing that issue tonight, in some regards, his name is Issa Hodge, and his radio program is the Catholic and the Muslim and the Catholic, and they are funny. Let me tell you, the Muslim and the Catholic, and they're on Blog Talk Radio, and they are very funny. His co-host. I don't want to mess up his name. He kind of sits in the back like Jim does here, and when he does speak, it speaks volumes, just like you, Jim.
Right. That brings to mind a joke I told my mom about a few times, like the other day or something like that, in which I said, imagine a reality show. It's called The Fools and the Factless.
That sums it up pretty much, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah.
But I think what Ben Affleck said tonight, last Friday, and it's interesting because there was no new episode of Real Time with Bill Maher. I would have loved to have heard what Bill Maher had to say regarding his crucifixion on the net. But, it happens. And of course, Sam Harris was on The Last Word with Lawrence McDonald on MSNBC, defending Bill Maher and defending his statements and whatnot. And I thought to myself, is this guy a fucking clod or what? I mean, I've been to his website. He actually, believe it or not, attacked Malala Yousafzai, who I think is one of the, and she was supposed to be another topic we were supposed to cover tonight. We never got around to it, but we'll do that next week. She's fantastic. She is probably one of the most principled, pro-religious liberty people out there. And not only that, she's also in favor of individual rights and human rights across the board. I love that about her. So, and it's been, we're going to be closing up here next week.
Before you do that, let me just add this. I misspoke earlier. Issa Hodge's show it's a Muslim and a Catholic wake up in America, and it's on We Resistors Radio on Blog Talk Radio. A Muslim and a Catholic wake up in America.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to get that in there, and it's really been a joy to spend time with you both tonight and with all the guests.
Well,
and,
Jim left. I think either his phone battery just went dead or something like that.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll let you close out. I just wanted to throw that in there and make sure that I got that title out there because people that were listening to the show tonight and they're concerned about these issues surrounding Islamophobia, you have a Muslim living here in America who was born and raised here in America who later became a Muslim, and he's working with his own community to educate people within his community, and he also is doing his best to awaken people in the general population about the truth concerning Islamophobia.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to close out right now. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back next week. As I was going to tell Jim, and I hope he can hear this, and I think we covered it. I think maybe he got the idea or something, but I would like to have you back on the show as a permanent co-hosts and panelists on the show. If we can work up to that, that's more than a likely possibility at this point. But
we'll play it by ear. It'll work out if that's what's meant to be.
Yeah. But I love hearing from you, and
same here, my friend. Same here.
I love hearing from everybody. Thank you. Good night, and we'll see you next week. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Night now.
That leaves the door wide open.